This is Brother Broadcasters on MLBBro.com, and I am David Grubb, and I am honored to be joined by one of the best in the business, no matter what the sport. But currently, he is the play-by-play broadcaster for the Seattle Mariners, Mr. Dave Sims. Dave, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, David. Pleasure to be with you, and nice to meet you. Nice to meet a nice guy from the great state of Louisiana.
Now, you're a Northeastern guy, Philly native.
Totally.
And that's where you got your broadcasting start. But what takes you from a kid? Because this is not something, again, that there weren't models for us when we were coming up in broadcasting. So how do you as a young man get inspired?
Yeah, I was a pretty good baseball player, not good enough to make it to the majors. And somebody once told me, and I wish I could remember who it was because I dearly love to give him credit. Hey, man. You can still stick around the game by covering a game. You can write for the newspaper and whatnot. And I'm like, ding. And so I started dabbling in it. So I go to Bethany College and, major mass communications and after 1 year football, threw myself into being a public address announcer, writing for the newspaper, becoming the sports editor, becoming the sports director of the radio station. I was hooked, man. And I was hooked even before that because growing up in Philly, it is such a great sports town. Mm-hmm. And my dad worked in the Philly post office, the main PO at 30th and Market. Softball league, basketball league, I was always around it. My father played. He ran them. Mm-hmm. I was always going with them. We went to Phillies games. We used to go to see the Warriors when Wilt was playing there. We go see the Eagles. So, dude, I wasn't going to end up a brain surgeon, even if I wanted to be. It was going to be sports. And that's where I am, man.
Who were those broadcasters that influenced you? Because in that Philadelphia area, like you talked about, those are some of the most recognizable voices ever in football, basketball. Did they influence you, or was it something that, just because you loved being around the game, it kind of just was something that you evolved yourself?
I grew up watching the late, great Jack Whitaker, who was at CBS for years, an erudite, just fabulous guy. Bill Campbell, who was like the voice of my youth he did the Eagles, he did the Phillies, he did the Sixers. Byram Sam, Richie Ashburn, Harry Callis, then the national guys. I mean, you go down the list. Charlie Jones, who I eventually worked with on the '88 Olympics, Lindsey Nelson, Kurt Gowdy. I heard Mr. Scully, who I've become friends with over the years. So all of those cats, I love them all. Bill White was the first black guy I saw do that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, damn, this is unbelievable. This is phenomenal. And he had just retired, and he got a job at ABC Philly. He was the first black guy I saw doing sports. And I was like, maybe we got a shot here. So, push forward.
You're in an extremely exclusive club, and it's a difficult place to get to be one of 30 anyway. But to be one of 30 and black, how did you manage that path?
Perseverance, man. And then when breaks came, I took advantage of them. And yeah, that is the category. You nailed the category. If this was Jeopardy, you nailed it. It was, black broadcasters, non-former player division, man. Mm-hmm. It's when somebody pointed that out to me, and it was mind blowing. And it's mind blowing that, again, even if you include the ex-athletes, it's still a small number in the history of the game, let alone what we have going on now. Was a Godfather 2. This is the business we've chosen.
How long did it take you to find your voice? And then when you start getting into the place of catchphrases and things like that, how do those become organic rather than something that, you're trying to find something that clicks?
I'm not a good enough actor to play anybody else. So I got to be me. And that's it. I-95, Philly, New York, little edge, sometimes edgy, and just speak the truth, man. And just be comfortable. And then what was the other part of your question? You were asking about finding a voice. I just be yourself, man. Just be yourself.
And that confidence also comes from preparation. Can you talk to those young up and coming reporters just about and broadcasters about preparation and how much of your day on a consistent basis preparation takes up?
Well, I always say it's 24/7. I mean, because the importance of preparation speaks for itself. You got to do it. Hey, man, when I'm doing this broadcasting, it's got to come out right. And you're going to make mistakes, and you can't flip out of them.
How important is versatility to this business?
You need to know the language, man, and you got to know how to use it. You got to have foundational things to work with. There's a certain boldness and brashness that you get to the line, look over it, but don't cross it in terms of being too bold and brash. I mean, you got to be assertive, you got to be confident, and you can't do this job without having confidence in yourself.
Let's switch gears and talk about this year's Mariners team. In the 15 years you've been there, this is a team that hasn't had a winning record in back-to-back seasons. It's been a struggle, but now you got the reigning Rookie of the Year, incredible young talent coming up on this team. I think 7 or 8 of the top 100 prospects in baseball belong to the Mariners.
Right.
And like you said, some of those are this young African-American talent that you have coming up, those 6 guys led by Taylor Trammell. What does this team look like this season after a pretty good 2-2 start so far?
Yeah, this is a group, Marco Gonzalez, and talking to him, listening to him, Kyle Lewis, JP Crawford. Hey, they say, you know what they want? They want to win. I love that. And it's interesting, a lot of the projections we're talking about, 2022 will be the year. And I remember Mitch Haniger says, I'm not looking to throw away these next couple of years. I want to win now, man. And I get that. I appreciate that. You got a lot of hungry dudes and some talented guys that are growing by the minute. And Marco even said, hey, we might be able to sneak up on some people this year. Crazy things can and will happen in baseball, as you know. It seems like this is a super tight group, which if you have that kind of bonding, that breeds success. But I think this has a chance to be a very exciting ball club. Some people set a timetable that, starting in 22, that's going to be the year. The heck with that. Let it be, let it start now. Let it start now here in 21. This region will go absolutely nuts if the Mariners are, get into it here. Houston is still formidable. They're pitching. You probably can raise some questions about that. The Angels are going to hit. My God, they're going to hit. Their pitching's a question mark. The A's have made some changes. A few familiar faces aren't there. Simeon's gone. Liam Hendricks is gone. And then you got us, and they got Texas. Texas is in a bigger rebuild right now than we are, than the Mariners are. So I think the Mariners. I think they're an intriguing team this year because you got it's on the come, and maybe things accelerate and we go from there.
When you look at this team, do you see some similarities to those Astros teams from a few years ago where when they bottomed out and you saw a young group come together, wasn't really a monster ball team at the beginning? Because this team isn't really a slugget team. They do a lot of the little things. The Mariners,
right.
Steal bases, hitting the gaps, field pretty well.
They catch it, right.
So do you see some of that? Because that Astros team was really built out of a young core and added a couple pieces around the periphery. But over 2-3 years, there was a huge jump from that 100-loss team to the World Series.
You can absolutely make that case. I mean, you can go pretty much position by position. I mean, the catching defensively, and that's what you ask. Anything you get is gravy out of that position with Murphy and Terens, with Cal Raleigh on the come. Evan White at first, he's only going to get better. He's one of the best fielding first basemen I've ever seen. And he's only 60. So what do we played for? He's 64, 65 games into his career. I mean, he's so far ahead. I mean, he's in the John Olerud, Keith Hernandez, Wes Parker, JT Snow category. That's how good he is. All right. Ty France can hit, and he's, he DH him, play second, third. JP Crawford hasn't hit well so far, but he's a Gold Glove. Kyle Lewis, we got to get him back in a week or two. You got Trammell, who's really off to a nice start. Haniger's outstanding in right field. Good to have him back. Yeah, you can make a parallel. There's reason for optimism. There really is.
When you look around the big leagues this year, we see just last year's sprint really wasn't indicative for some teams just because it was just so awkward. How important, just for the mindset of the players, has that been coming out of a legitimate spring training for these young guys, especially to have a real routine and a real home to be in?
It's going to be way different. And I think that the coaching staff has done, from what I see and from what I hear, and again, I'm at a deficit too. Where all the broadcasters and writers are at a deficit because we don't have that immediate contact, the day-to-day contact. When we go to the club and say, "Man, what do you got for me? Hey, what's going on? How are you? What's happening? What do you got?" We don't have that. But those guys are smart enough to tell these guys that, you had 60 games last year. It was a sprint. It's a marathon this year, and you're going to be doing coast-to-coast travel this year. It's way different. way different for you young guys who are going through it either the first or second time. So that's where veteran leadership comes in.
How excited are you about the prospect for the season as a whole? As we've seen, the teams at the top have stayed good, but the teams at the bottom, the floor of baseball has been raised. What do you feel about the level of talent across the board in baseball and what the future looks like for the game?
There's a lot of really good, bright players coming along. And I just think that I would like to see the game itself. I would like to see more promotion of the game because, the NBA and the NFL, they do such a great job promoting their guys, their teams, their players. This stuff is exciting. The thing that's great is that we're back. We're playing 162, and slowly but surely we're opening up the gates to get people back in the ballpark. I think the guys have done a heck of a job fighting through last year. It wasn't easy. And, we're still dealing with a lot of things, but, patience is generally not one of my great virtues, but I think I've learned the last year or two to learn how to deal with it.
When I was really learning the game and loving the game, learning to love the game, the thing that drew me most in for black ball players was the amount of characters. There always were characters in the game. I am enjoying seeing young black ball players come up and be unafraid to be themselves, to show that they love baseball. When I watch Latin leagues, when I watch Korean baseball, when I watch the joy that fans and players have, I would love to see that translated to the American game.
Joy, that's the word. I want to see more joy. I want to see more of that, man. And not just, not from the black guys, from everybody.
Everybody.
And, when we watch football and basketball, hey, you can tell a guy he digs what he does. And you're allowed to show it here in baseball.
It's just been amazing just to see the moments that you've had. If you had to identify either the call or the game that you were most proud to be a part of, do you think you could?
I got 3 of them, to be honest with you. Felix's perfect game, Felix Hernandez, August 15, 2012. Around this time, like March 25, 26 of 06, George Mason upsets Connecticut to go to the Final Four. And then I think it was a game in 2016. It was game 161, Mariners A's. I just remember Nelson Cruz hitting a 7th inning home run to tie the game at 7-7, and the place went nuts. I went nuts. And somebody sent it to me recently, and I still get chills thinking of that. He's one of my favorite people and I've ever met in the business. And that was a great moment, man, when he tied that thing up, because it looked like we were starting the quicksand was starting to bring us down, and all of a sudden he went deep, and it was amazing.